Welcome back to the Gaming News Recap. This week, the format might be a little bit different as I'm trying to make sure I get this video out on time. We're going to be covering a lot of the news, and I want to give a special shout out to Insider Gaming news website founded by Tom Henderson. We have relied very heavily on his sources and his articles this week, so if you want more details about anything we've talked about, or just more gaming news in general, make sure to go to insider-gaming.com for more information. We're going to jump right into the news. We've got a lot of different things to cover this week, from the Division 2 to an indie game called Unrecord. It's an incredible looking game. I highly recommend you check it out. Let's get into the video. One surprise announcement was Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. Quidditch Champions focuses solely on the popular in-world sport, Quidditch. Playtests are going to begin shortly. You can sign up at quidditchchampions.wbgames.com. This week saw the release of Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC. It was exclusive to the PS5, even though the base game, Horizon Forbidden West, was released on both last-gen PlayStation 4 and current-gen PlayStation 5. The expansion was developed exclusively for the PlayStation 5, and the enemies and environment reflect the power of the current generation of consoles. From breathtaking clouds to the massive final boss of the expansion, it's incredible to see developers pushing the limits of our technology. Ubisoft announced, by everyone's surprise, The Division Day, in which they announced a number of game-related announcements related to, you guessed it, The Division. Starting off with The Division 2, Year 5 begins this summer. The Takeover team has finally gotten their footing under them. If you don't know what's happened, The Division 2 was originally scheduled to shut down in 2020, with the release of Season 3 during Year 1. Most of the Division team was disbanded onto other projects, which include the unreleased Avatar game and the upcoming Star Wars game that is at development at Ubisoft. Massive. This team has taken a while to rebuild the game, fix things that have been broken. At one point, there was a huge section of the game that actually broke, and they had to completely rebuild the code from the ground up. That was just a few months ago. But they've really been able to get everything together, and they're actually relaunching with Season 1 this summer in Year 5, and it's going to include a new free game mode, Descent. Descent is a roguelike simulation set in the game world. It is essentially an endless dungeon and seems to be what some of the Summit game mode had tried to be. It looks honestly like a lot of fun, and I think I'm going to have to jump back into this with some friends. Season 1 will also allow you to start fully rebuilding the castle settlement that was destroyed in the base game several years back. Season 2 will be called Puppeteers, and will deal with the incursion related to the popular Cleaners faction from the Division 1 and the Warlords of New York expansion for Division 2. Season 3 goes back to New York yet again for a holiday event and will move the story forward with Keener's Rogues. Finally, the biggest surprise, Season 4 will bring a new paid story DLC with new maps, new zones, and a whole new endgame system. This came by complete surprise. Many had expected that Warlords of New York was going to be the initial starting expansion for several more, and then Ubisoft decided to shut the game down, and then, in the last moments of the game, decided, no, we're actually going to keep this game going, but we're going to have to completely rebuild the team. And so it's been really encouraging for a lot of the Division community who has stuck with the Division 2 through all the problems of getting development going again and releasing new seasons, to have such promise of a new story DLC, a whole new zone being added to the game, which is so desperately needed. It's just awesome, and I'm excited to be hopping back into the Division this summer. Year 5 of the Division will begin in early June, and the PTS is open now, so you can go try the Descent mode if you're curious about what it's actually like. Although not many new details were given, gameplay of the mobile game Division Resurgence was shown off. The game is set in New York City and the game follows many of the same styles of the first Division game. But of course, one of the news pieces that I was waiting for the most was the Division Heartland. You see, the Division Heartland was announced several years back in a blog post by Ubisoft Massive, and not much has been known about Heartland outside of leaks and rumors. Developed by Red Storm Entertainment, the game is set in Middle America in a town called Silver Creek. You will follow Agent Mackenzie Reed as she tracks down her former commander, who is leading a group of rogues in the region. New enemy factions include the Vultures and the Reapers. Heartland is a survival PvEvP free-to-play game. The game seems to be the spiritual successor of the survival mode from the Division 1. You can register for the closed PC beta at the link in the description below. Unrecord is an impressive new first-person shooter with the perspective being a realistic body cam. The game showed off its first look, which stunned viewers. Many demanded to know whether or not it was even real, or if it was recorded in real life and not actual gameplay. The developer took time to release a look at behind the scenes to prove that, yes, it was a real generated graphics game, and it looks that real. It's not just recorded footage of body cam. Minor controversy popped up because you'll be playing as a police officer in the game, but this was generally dismissed as a non-issue by the general public. Apex Legends announced its Veiled Collection event coming next week to the game. This is the 4th collection event to come this season. Although this season brought a lot of necessary changes to the game, one thing that's been consistent criticism of the season of Apex is the collection events. And this is the 4th collection event, and with each collection event costing about $160 to complete, you can see why it's controversial that the most added content to this season is paid skins in a first-person shooter. Worst case, the limited time team deathmatch mode looks like a lot of fun, so let's make sure to check that out and support that part, and vote with your wallet whether you want more collection events or not. 2 major acquisitions were announced this week. The first was kind of a surprise. Rovio, the developers of Angry Birds, most famously, was bought by Sega for almost $1 billion. While most look at that and say Angry Birds is kind of past its prime, we have to look at the reason for Sega's acquisition, and that is primarily the mobile game experience that Rovio has. They have made success after success after success, rebranding just the simple Angry Birds formula into Star Wars and into so many other IPs, and launching that game over and over and over again. Sega wants to break more into mobile. Hopefully we can get some really cool Sonic games, maybe Company of Heroes, and other major Sega properties. The other acquisition announced this week was Firewalk Studios. They were bought by Sony, making it the 20th first-party studio that Sony has acquired. No games have been released by this studio, but the studio is working on a new IP with no details currently announced as to what all is involved with it. Firewalk Studios is a 150 employee studio consisting of game developer veterans from the likes of Bungie, Respawn Entertainment, Raven Software, and more. With such a stacked team of developers, I'm very optimistic as to what this next game that's going to be released for the PS5 and PC will end up looking like. Here's to hoping it's something pretty good and Sony can manage their studios well. That's going to do it for this week's recap. I apologize if things seemed a little rushed or not as well edited. I'm trying to make sure that we keep on top of the content this week. If there's something I missed from this week that was really major and important, please let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for supporting this video. Hope this was a good recap for you of this week's gaming news. Catch you later.